Ford's Transit has ruled the British large LCV market for around half a century, its very name synonymous with its purpose. In the past, this may have had a great deal to do with tradition and the vast choice of derivatives on offer, but today's sales success is very much down to quality of product. 4 products, in fact, that make up the modern-day Transit range. Transit Connect and Transit Courier models look after customers with more compact cargo carrying needs. But here we're going to look at a larger option, the Transit Custom. It slots into the range beneath the largest model, known simply as Transit, and is there to take on Vito and Vivaro-sized medium-sized vans in the volume part of the LCV sector. It's a very complete commercial vehicle indeed. Think of a largish van, and it's a pretty sure bet that you'll be thinking of this one, Ford's Transit, the self-proclaimed backbone of Britain. And it's true, thousands of British businesses do indeed rely on this vehicle. So successful has it been since its original launch way back in 1965 that its very name has almost passed into our language, a byword for van versatility. In modern times, though, this is a vehicle that can no longer live on its history, on unquestioning repeat business. Never has the competition been tougher, which of course is why this Transit has never been better. No longer does it need a wide, unwieldy range attempting to be all things to all businesses. Instead, there are a couple of compact models with Connect and Courier badges, a really large version simply called Transit, and the vehicle that we're going to look at here that slots somewhere in between, the Transit Custom. The Custom hits the sales sweet spot in the medium range LCV market for a vehicle not too big and not too small. Here is Ford's answer to European market leaders like Volkswagen's Transporter, Mercedes Vito, the Peugeot Expert, the Citroën Dispatch, the Renault Trafic, and what on these shores we know as the Vauxhall Vivaro. To deal with such tough opposition, the Blue Oval brand is offering an enormous range of choice to British businesses, with over 300 Transit Custom derivatives on offer. Not bad when you remember that there were just 75 variants available when the original model Transit was first launched back in 1965. As a result, whether today your large van needs are to carry packages or people, then this Ford remains an option that you simply can't ignore. Driving dynamics have been integral to transit motoring ever since the late 90s, when Ford went as far as enlisting former Formula One world champion Jackie Stewart to get them right. The previous generation version of this vehicle, as a result, was very good to drive, the best in its class, and this Transit Custom continues that trend, the steering feel being especially impressive. Now, like any commercial vehicle, this one handles better when fully loaded, but even in the unladen state that I've got here, body roll is extremely well controlled and cornering precision is impressive. The cornering response thing is perhaps the easiest to explain, delivered courtesy of a torque vectoring control system perfected on Ford road cars. Now, this constantly shifts traction to the wheel that can best use it as you go through the corners, firing you seamlessly from bend to bend in a way that you simply don't expect a van to be able to do. As for the body roll control, well, that's courtesy of a 37% improvement in torsional stiffness, something that also improves refinement by as much as 9% in cab, according to Ford. Under the bonnet, the range is based around just one engine, an improved version of Ford's 2.2-litre TDCi Duratorq diesel, available with optional auto start-stop and offered in 3 different states of tune, 100, 125 and 155 PS. All 3 engines feel usefully pokier than they did in their earlier, feebler guises, and even the least powerful 100 PS variant has a healthy 310 Newton meters of torque, a figure that rises to as much as 385 Newton meters in the 155 PS variant that I'm driving here. Now, one of the things that you notice at the wheel with these engines is the really impressive refinement that's in part down to the long gearing from the 6-speed manual gearbox. It also helps that you've got a standard full-height bulkhead here. It's all a world away from the rattly old TDDI diesels that transit buyers had to put up with not so long ago. What else? Towing? Well, that should be up to the mark. Whichever engine variant you choose, you'll be able to tow a braked trailer of up to 2 tons. And braking? Well, the sprightly handling of this vehicle means that it's important that the anchors are up to the job. This was something that Ford improved in later versions of the previous generation model, which by the end of its life featured disc brakes all round. You'll also want this vehicle to be manoeuvrable. And it is. It's got a turning circle of 11.6 metres curb to curb and 12.2 metres wall to wall. And should you be at an uphill junction, then standard hill start assist will help you get away smoothly. A van needs to look smart, modern and professional. This one does, with signature kinetic design features that bring a sportier stance and a bold rising shoulder line, clearly marking out this cargo carrier as very much a vehicle of its time. Pride of place on the bold trapezoidal front grille goes to the largest blue oval badge that Ford uses on any of its vehicles worldwide. A pity, though, that you no longer get the steps provided on the front bumper of the previous generation version that enabled owners to more easily climb up and clean the screen. Or, when it comes to the bonnet, one nice security touch is that you'll need your ignition key to open it. Inside, the cabin design is very different from what went before, with the same herringbone style layout for phone and stereo functions and blue backlit infotainment screen that we're used to seeing in the latest Ford passenger cars. It doesn't all have the same hewn from granite feel that you get in, say, a Mercedes Vito or a Volkswagen Transporter, but overall, in terms of fit and finish, it's a big step forward for a Transit. Certainly the cabin itself is a very well thought out piece of design work, normally a 3-seater in straightforward panel van guise, or a front 2-seater if you order your vehicle in double cab in van model form. Getting comfortable at the wheel is certainly a lot easier than it was before, thanks not only to a height adjustable driver's seat, but also to the provision at last of a steering wheel that adjusts for reach and for rake. If you're tall, it'll also help that there's an extra 30mm of rearward travel on the now more comfortable driver's seat. Most models get the option that I have here of being able to fold down the middle part of the centre of the 3 seats to create an impromptu desk big enough for a laptop or a clipboard, complete with twin cup holders, a pen tray and an elasticated strap for storing your paperwork. Also like the way that you can fold up the base of these 2 seats to open up a roomy 93-litre concealed storage area in which you could store valuables like tools. Smaller items, well, they can be put in the now lockable glove box that is big enough to hang A4 files in. In fact, when it comes to the storage of smaller things, there are few vans able to match this one. Ford's market research suggesting that this was a priority amongst users. So in each door you get both upper and lower storage bins, the upper one big enough to hold either a flask of tea or a 2-litre bottle. You've also got cup and bottle holders at either end of the fascia. And I particularly like this storage area on top of the instrument binnacle, which conceals a 12-volt power supply for MP3 players and the like. Let's start with what you'll pay. Now, there are several hundred Transit custom derivatives from which to choose, with most being centred around the panel van body style I have here. Adding people to the packaging mix means that you might want to look at the double cabin van body style with its extra rearward seats in front of the load bay. Or, if you want to give the whole space over to the carriage of people, there's a 9-seater combi minibus. If you want something even more luxurious than that, there's a smarter, more upmarket 8 or 9-seater Tourneo passenger body style. But Ford really now consider this as a passenger car product and a decent alternative to really large MPVs for bigger families. Here though, our main focus is on Transit custom panel vans. Though it is possible, excluding the dreaded VAT, to get yourself into a short wheelbase version of one of these for under £20,000, most models will be sold in the £20,000 to £25,000 bracket that's common to the medium range van class. In rough terms, you need to be looking at adding around £700 to the cost of any given short wheelbase variant if you want to upgrade it to beefier, long wheelbase spec. You can also talk to your dealer about the higher roof body style, also developed for this van, which will only cost a few £100s more. As for rivals, well, they're many and varied, of course. Short and long wheelbase Transit custom models compete mainly with medium-sized vans like Vauxhall's Revaro, Renault's Trafic, Volkswagen's Transporter, Mercedes Vito, Peugeot's Expert and Citroen's Dispatch. You'll need the fully fledged model just known as Transit, or in Ford speak as the 2-tonner, if you want the next class up from this. Here though, we're focusing on the front-wheel drive short or long wheelbase Transit Custom, and as I've already suggested, there are plenty of options when it comes to buying one. I'd suggest that you start by deciding upon the heaviness of the loads that you're likely to carry. The heavier the load, the beefier the gross vehicle weight you're going to need. Now, let's assume that you want a panel van like this one. The entry-level version has a gross vehicle weight of 2,500 kilograms, so is badged 250. The next option is 2,700 kilograms, badged 270, and then so on in the same way through 290, 310 and 330 models. By now, you should be narrowing your target model down, and you can pinpoint it even further by deciding upon a body style to suit the likely length of your usual cargo. The short wheelbase Transit custom body style offers an overall length of 4.97 metres, while the long wheelbase version offers 5.34 metres. Still with me? Great. At this point, you should have a pretty good idea of what your ideal Transit custom variant is going to be. It's now just a case of finalising your trim level. Before you decide on that, think carefully about running costs. You can save about 10% on these by opting for one of the E-Kinetic models with their various clever engine efficiency savings. Whichever trim level you choose, you should find that your vehicle will come decently equipped. With virtually all models, you can expect to find features like tinted glass, electric windows, a decent quality MP3 compatible CD stereo with steering wheel remote controls, and an aux jack for portable music players, as well as a Thatcham Category 1 alarm, a sliding side door, a full-height bulkhead and a remote central locking system that's configurable so operators can choose which doors are unlocked in which order when selected buttons on the waterproof self-charging remote key are pressed. Options include not only the parking distance sensors I have here, but also a rear-view parking camera built into the rear-view mirror. If I was an owner-driver, I'd also want to consider the cornering lights that better illuminate your way around the bends at night. Plus auto headlamps that can dip themselves automatically at night, rain-sensing wipers, a quick clear heated windscreen, and cruise control with an adjustable speed limiter to preserve your licence in urban areas. In those crowded streets, you might also appreciate the option of power foldable wing mirrors. Perhaps the neatest optional touch, though, is the clever Ford Sync with emergency assistance setup. Now, through this, you can work MP3 players, Bluetooth-enabled phones, and access USB drives with voice commands, plus get text-to-speak messaging. Most importantly, the system automatically calls the emergency services in accidents where the airbags are triggered. Talking of airbags, 2 front ones are standard, with side and curtain bags optional. Plus there's ABS braking with electronic brake force distribution to make it more effective, and emergency brake assist that helps in panic stops, advertised to following motorists by automatically activating hazard warning flashes. Other standard electronic assistance features include ESP stability control, hill start assist, rollover mitigation and traction control. There's also the option of a driver alert system that monitors your driving reactions and prompts you to stop if it seems that you're getting drowsy. And a lane keeping alert setup to stop dozy drivers from veering out of their lanes on the highway. So, using this straightforward long wheelbase low roof variant as an example, let's start as usual at the business end here at the rear. Like rivals, Transit Custom models come with these conventionally hinged, side-opening twin rear doors that open to 90 degrees and can swing through to 180 degrees. Now, it helps that unless the load you have in mind is really heavy, then you're not going to need a forklift. The loading height, after all, can be as little as 583 millimetres from the ground. It's all enough to make this the only vehicle in this short wheelbase medium range marketplace able to take 3 of these 3 Euro pallets with a 1 metre high load. But maybe you're not carrying Euro pallets. Maybe you want to carry something like an 8x4 board. That's 2,440 millimetres by 1,220 millimetres. Well, this van in short wheelbase form will take that too, either vertically against the bulkhead or flat on the floor. And if you're going to make full use of all that space, then you'll be glad of a payload that will be at least 883 kilograms. So, in short, you may not need the long wheelbase version that I've got here. But if you do, then you'll find that the extra 0.37 metres of length is enough to up the load volume to 6.8 cubic metres, while payload rises to, anything between 1,014 and 1,414 kilograms, depending upon the gross vehicle weight you choose. Now, whatever Transit Custom model you choose, it'll get a sliding side door with class-leading height and width. That's 1,320 millimetres high in low roof form and 1,030 millimetres wide. Of course, in double cabin van passenger carrying variants, the side door is reserved for use of rear seat occupants, and the need for their compartment means a necessarily restricted luggage bay at the back. In short wheelbase models down to 3.5 cubic metres with a load space length of 1,577 millimetres. Probably better in this case to go for a long wheelbase version, where the packaging compromise is less acute, these variants delivering a 4.4 cubic metre load volume and a load space length of 1,944 millimetres. Now, once you've got your stuff in, an easier job to accomplish at night if you specify these optional super bright LED interior lights. There's a fitted vinyl floor cover to protect the base of the vehicle, though of course it won't protect the wheel arches or the interior sides. For that you'll need a full ply lining kit that you can arrange through your Ford dealer. Of course, interior damage is less likely if you tie your loads down. And for this Transit Custom provides up to 8 load lashing hooks. Now, if you forget to use them and everything slides forward, then you'll be glad of this full height steel bulkhead. And built into the bottom of it is this really useful little compartment that means that longer items like pipes and ladders of up to 3 metres in length can be slid through. Of course, even longer items can be carried on the roof, and here there's another example of Ford design cleverness, the deployable integrated roof rack system. If I had it here, I'd be able to carry loads of up to 130 kilograms. Seamlessly integrated into the roof panels, you need only activate it when you need it. So when not in use, the crossbars can be quickly folded down, reducing drag and fuel consumption, as well as on most variants, keeping the overall vehicle height to under a couple of metres for easy car park entry. Neat. As for operating issues, well, insurance groups are set between 5E and 9E. You get the usual 3-year, 100,000 mile warranty, a year of roadside assistance from new, and 12 years of anti-perforation warranty. Servicing on the 2.2 litre Duratorq diesel engine. The servicing intervals have been set at a lengthy 30,000 miles, or every 2 years. And it's certainly an easy engine bay to work in, with straightforward access to things like the dipstick and the washer filler bottle. I particularly like the fact that on this bottle you've got a sensor so that you're alerted as a driver when it needs refilling. In fact, hassle-free thinking is something that you find everywhere on this vehicle. The bumper, for example, is made up of 3 parts so that it's quicker and more cost-effective to replace. I also like the Ford capless Easy Fuel diesel nozzle system, which makes it almost impossible to fill up your Transit with the wrong kind of fuel. As for running costs, these have been improved substantially over the previous generation model, with even standard Transit Custom variants delivering a combined cycle fuel return of 42.8 miles to the gallon and 174 grams per kilometre of CO2 emissions. Now, to improve upon that, you need to be looking at one of the Econetic models, which benefit from an auto start-stop system to cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. These variants also get aerodynamic wheel trims, longer gearing, revised engine calibration and low rolling resistance tyres. As a result of all this, running costs improved to 47.1 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 162 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you want to go further still, then tick the box for a really neat option called acceleration control. Now, this controls the rate of acceleration of your vehicle, depending on whether it's unladen or part laden, which can in turn lower your fuel consumption by up to 15%, as well as reducing wear and tear on the engine. Now, this may be the most sophisticated Transit we've yet seen, but businesses will still buy it for the same reasons. This custom model remains such a simple, straightforward, one-stop choice, and it'll help that it satisfies a wider variety of commercial needs than any other Transit derivative. Across the rest of Europe, Transit models enjoy none of the market dominance that they have in the UK. But on the evidence of this custom version, you'd have to wonder whether continental buyers are missing a trick. That wasn't always the case, of course. Ford's dominance in the British LCV sector has been traditionally founded on the fact that UK buyers tended to replace their Transits with another because, well, that was what they'd always done. That may continue, of course, but what is different today is the quality of product that those people are buying into. Very few rivals these days can match or beat this Transit when it comes to practicality and day-to-day running costs. It is, once again, number one for a reason.